Today is the 8th of September, and this is an interview with Nick. Nick, can you tell me your full name and spell your surname?
It's actually Rick Stableford, R-I-C-K, and Stableford is S-T-A-B-L-E-F-O-R-D.
Rick.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
What's your name?
My name's Rosie Oliver, and this is for the Histories Where To Now the Sequins Have Gone exhibition and the archive at Goldsmith. So I'm going to really train the mic on Rick. And Rick, if you could just introduce yourself and what brought you to the show today.
Oh, right. So, yeah, I've lived in Lewisham for about 40 odd years and seen many changes. And a flyer was given out at the drag race, and that's where I first heard about it. And so I kind of investigated and found out I literally only lived just up the road. So I came down to have a look around and also to volunteer, because I think it's good to give something back to Lewisham, isn't it? Yeah.
And obviously you have some memories of the gay venues in Lewisham. And I wondered if you would share some of those. I mean, which one was the one that you'd go to most often?
Oh, I think one of my favourite memories was when I first came to Lewisham. There was a group called the Gay Men's Drama Class, which was an adult education class run by ILIA, in the London Education, and I got to make friends here and through that class, and we used to just scream about, It was so much fun, and I remember there was a gay disco at the Albany, and one of the guy who ran the class also set up that disco. And one day, I don't know how, we all went round this flat and we all dragged up, like in the most sort of, charity shop drag. It wasn't particularly good. It was just sort of like slung together drag, and we all put makeup on each other and things like that. And then there was about it was probably about 10 of us in all, and we just paraded up Deptford High Street in drag in the sort of late afternoon, like walking up. And I just remember it as a really kind of happy moment, sort of thinking, we're here, we're queer, or whatever, It's like, walking to this disco, It's,
Do you remember the reactions you were getting from people in Deptford High Street?
I don't think I really looked for many reactions. I kind of avoided eye contact, I think. I kind of, we were just sort of supporting each other and having a laugh with each other, really. You know what I mean? It was, people got out of the way. I remember that. It was, we were kind of a group walking up, and that's one of my probably, it's kind of felt I have arrived in Lewisham's kind of feeling, you know what I mean? It was good, yeah.
And when was that, roughly?
Ooh. It'd be about 88-ish, around there, 88. Yeah, it would be 88, I think, or 87, 88, that kind of time, yeah.
Excellent. So did you go to any of the pubs, either with them or with other people?
Yeah, I went to lots of pubs. It was like, went to all of them, really. It's like, I've seen them all come and go over the years, It's like, even the ones that only lasted a month, It's like, I went to all of them. Some I preferred more than others, but some stayed open more than others. So I went to those as well, So it's like, it depends where they were selling alcohol, really.
Okay, so can we run through them? Which one do you want to start with?
In Lewisham, of course, there's the Castle, Stonewall, 286 or whatever it's called, 186. Was it 186 or 286?
286.
286, that's it. The Castle, the Queen's Arms. There was, there's the Phoenix, of course, and what other ones were there? There's ones in Catford as well that have kind of come and gone, and there used to be a nightclub on Forest Hill, wasn't there, for a while, and they've all kind of come and gone. But I think probably it's the Castle that was the one that I loved, you know what I mean? It was like, it was a good local feeling there,
Okay, so I never went to the castle. Paint a picture for me as to what it was like.
It was like, as you may know, it's like, it was straight at the front and gay at the back, and so you had to walk past the pool tables and run the gauntlet really to think, oh my God, I've got to be with my people, in the back. And in the back, I remember it as curtains you walk through, I think, but I could be wrong. I think maybe they came a bit later, maybe. And at the back, it was. It was a disco, and it was just people sat around on tables smoking in those days, and smoking drugs even. You know what I mean? It was like it was a very relaxed atmosphere, and and people just got on. It was like good fun, although there were fights. It was like
Keep going.
yeah, sorry, and the fights, It was always a fight, and nearly every other night, something. It was like, and if someone had probably looked at the wrong person or whatever over the time, and it would be like some sort of slappy fight kind of going on. It was usually over as soon as it started. You know what I mean? It wasn't huge fights, but it'd be like a couple of broken glasses, and you think, okay, we'll all move down this end of the bar, But that kind of gave it an edge, which kind of made it exciting, I liked it. Yeah, the Ship and Whale as well. You remember the Ship and Whale as well? That was a gay pub for a while. Yeah.
Where was the Ship and Whale?
That was in Rotherhithe. It was like, that was a fun pub. It was, I used to know. I went out with the barman there, so it's like, and also Goldsmith's Tavern. I always remember going to Goldsmith's Tavern, actually. First time I went there, I think it's the first time I saw a male stripper in London. I was chatting to my mate, we were on the bench, chatting away. And I wasn't really, the stripper was taking ages taking his clothes off, so you kind of got bored. You think, oh, come on, get to the exciting bit. So I was chatting away to him, and then he next thing I knew, there was a foot on either side of me, and this package is slapping against my face. I'm saying, what do I do? It's very funny. It's very funny. It's like.
Is that teabagging?
No, it wasn't teabag. He still had his like a leather thong on, the sort of thing. It was the leather thong that was slapping against my face, sort of thing. It's like it's very funny. Yeah.
Okay. Where else was? Did you go to the Queen Arms?
Oh yeah, the Queen's Arms was literally my local. I still do live about two minutes from it. And I used to treat it as my front room, basically. I always remember during one particularly bad splitting up with a boyfriend scenario, I used to go there after work and have a drink, and I couldn't be bothered to go home, and I used to drink till about 11 o'clock at night, and get really drunk. And it was like, and I'd go home, fall asleep, wake up in the morning with a hangover, and you remember Cinders? Yeah, Cinders used to phone me up and say, you left your work bag here again. So I used to have to pick my work bag up, going back to work, come back and do it all over again the next night, really. Yeah.
Now, was Cinders, because I thought Cinders was barman at the castle, but was he, you said you left your bag here, was he the barman at the Queen's Arms as well?
Yeah, he did the Queen's Arms. He also, he was a barman at there was also a very short-lived gay pub up near, where the BP garage is. It's up there, round the back there. I can't remember what it was called. It was very short-lived. He was a barman there as well. But I was actually, when I first came to Lewisham, he was my neighbour, just by chance, just coincidentally. I was working as a teacher at the time, and I used to come home really tired, really, it was hard work, and he always shout, "Rick!" whenever I walk. And he just cheered me up every time. He'd kind of think, "Oh, I'm home," It's like, especially in those days it was Clause 28 and all that sort of stuff, and you felt sort of a bit oppressed, really. You know what I mean? And so it was nice just having a camp gay welcome. When you walk past his flat, it was like, it was nice.
Yeah, because I've heard someone else talk about him shouting out from the window above was it the Admiral Duncan up in Compton Street? Yeah. So I just like this idea of this projected voice.
Yeah, so he had a very loud projected voice. Yeah, he was always so welcoming, and he used to do champagne breakfast before Gay Pride, and because he was my neighbour, he used to always pop down and have a Bucks Fizz or something, you know what I mean, and wish everyone a happy Pride before trolling up to London or Brighton, wherever it was.
Tell me about the Roebuck.
Ooh, that was a seedy place, really. It was like, it smelled. The first thing that got you was the smell. It smelled like your worst public convenience, really. It had that kind of, and it had, and I always, it had the more kind of the rent boy kind of side to it, you know what I mean? It was like, it was very 80s in decor, it was all kind of pink and greys, but towards, I think it closed, about 10 years ago maybe, or maybe a bit longer. Anyway, it went to be the Phoenix and then closed, and it still had the same decor, like that kind of piney kind of pinky grey stuff, and it really got grimy and horrible. The great thing about it though was downstairs was a disco, and it would stay open until 4 o'clock in the morning. And so when all other pubs have failed, you can always go there for a late night drink. It's it was. And I remember even. I remember taking we had a work night out. Me with my straight colleagues. This is when I wasn't a teacher. I had another job, and I took all my work colleagues there because it's like, let's go for another drink. It's like, and they all loved it. We had a great time there. It was a fun night. It's like, their introduction to the Lewisham gay scene was a Roebuck. But the last time I ever went there, I went there with a mate of mine, and you knew it was on its last legs a bit because we were playing pool, me and my mate, and the landlord came up to us and said, "Oh, we've got your membership cards." And we're thinking, what membership cards? We never applied for any or anything. And he gave us 2 random membership cards for these 2 people that never heard of. It's supposed to, but apparently let us in whenever we wanted, or let us in without a paying admission or something. You know what I mean? And you kind of knew that was the last, because why would they give us this? So I think they were really desperate. Yeah. It was a shame it was shut down because it was a bit of an institution, but a sleazy one, really. A smelly one, really. I just remember the smell was. You didn't want to use the toilets there.
Can you tell me about a sort of a big night out where you're going from one place to the next in Lewisham? Did you have those? And tell me about the sequence and what will you be doing at each different place?
All right, well, it's like the big night out. Like it was great because you used to get the bus to Greenwich from Lewisham. Yeah, get the bus to Greenwich. You start off at the Rose and Crown or the Gloucester. There was a Powder Monkey as well. There wasn't there for a short time. And I never really liked the Powder Monkey. It wasn't my scene. But you used to do the trolling between the Rose and Crown and the Gloucester, and then go to what's that one? Oh, the one on Blackheath Hill, George and Dragon. Yeah, sorry. And see the Dragat there. That would be about 10, 11ish, and then from there go on to either the Phoenix or Stonewall, which would be open till 3 or 4 in the morning. You know what I mean?
Stonewall was what became of the castle.
Yeah. Stonewall came the castle became Stonewall. Yeah. It would be like the chatty social bit of the evening would be at the Rose and Crown, Gloucester, and that was a great time because you troll between the 2 pubs. They're literally only 50 yards apart, aren't they? And so you see everyone in one, and I'll see you in a bit, and you see them in the other one. And it's almost like a soap opera, same people, but in different combinations and different pubs, you know. And then, you see a bit of show at the George and Dragon, and then, a bit of a boogie at Castle Stonewall sort of thing. Yeah, it was the Stonewalls really in those days. Yeah, and that was a big night. That was kind of fun. Oh, and end up the cars at the if you really wanted a big night, end up at the Queen's Arms, because you have to be a lock in there. I remember when the Queen's Arms opened, it was like we had a march from Stonewalls to the Queen's Arms, because they're both owned by Josie, weren't they? And we actually had like the Gay Pride march and a great banner and things, and it's literally just up the road. But they wouldn't stop the roads for us. So even though we had police presence, we had to walk on the path, and there was like probably about 50 of us or so just walking up. And then we got there, and of course, I think Cinders was working in the bar, and suddenly 50 people arrived, all wanting a drink, and thinking, it was a really small bar, and it was it was a bit sort of like took a bit of time to get served,
Yeah, someone mentioned how you might spill out into the garden or the street, and
the Queen's Arms.
At the Queen's Arms, and there was sort of chains and trip hazards and all sorts. Do you have memories of that?
Yeah. There was that. I always remember the day after the Admiral Duncan bombing. Of course, everyone in Lewisham, was worried about Cinders. It was like, and he was actually in the Queen's Arms the next night, and he had a few bruises and cuts on him. And I remember chatting to him, and he said, it was fine. I'm fine. He was all right. Which was kind of good, because the first person you think of in these, it's a bit like, with the Admiral Duncan thing, he was, it's a bit, he was the landlord there, so he probably was the one that was the last person to leave or something, so it was a bit worrying. But it was great to see him in there. I just remember him sitting outside having a fag and being quite cool about it, really. You know what I mean? Not too upset. You know what I mean? It's like, well, that's what it appeared to me anyway. Yeah.
One of the things that Paul has been interested in exploring with people, I mean, from his own experience really, is how the communities were built around the pubs and how everyone would support each other in difficult times, whether that was the Admiral Duncan situation or obviously HIV/AIDS, or was that something that you felt was important? I kind of, when I first came to Lewisham, I kind of felt it. I was new to London, new to the gays, the gay scene as such, and the London gay scene. And it was, as I say, the gay men's drama group and things like that was really useful. And going to Out Dance, or If as it became at the Albany, was a great club. It was like there was these I can't remember. I kind of know that. It's like their names. Anyway, there was these three gay guys who would dance, and almost, I think it was just pre-Vogue days, you know what I mean? But they knew all the Madonna dances, and so they would get up and do the Madonna dances. And Oscar, who ran the club, they would get people dancing in a way, you know what I mean? They break the dance ice, and and Oscar actually used to let them in free, because but they took it incredibly seriously. Actually, with the dancers. Excuse me. They'll get to the bar with the dancers. We need a drink now. Sorry. And it was just all really fun, it's kind of like, it was a fun night out, and I'm with HIV. I'm trying to think about HIV and AIDS though. It's there was obviously lots of, the Metro Centre in Greenwich was a big plus, and also the Positive Place in Deptford was set up. I don't know how true this is, but the way what I heard, which I think is quite interesting,
is because I heard it from somebody who was involved in setting up the Positive Place, and the reason it was set up is because the lighthouse was so far away, and you may as well go to Brighton or something. It's to get to West London would take an hour and a half, so they have somewhere local, and it's a great idea. And they got funding from Greenwich, Southwark, Lewisham to help fund this thing, because obviously people from all those boroughs would use it, but one borough wouldn't give any funding because they didn't have people with HIV and AIDS in it, and that was Bromley. They would not. This is how rumour had it anyway. Yeah? And you do hear quite anti-gay things coming from Bromley. Like when they tried to set up a gay pub, there was a petition against it, and also about the Bromley Court Hotel, about how they wouldn't have people, they wouldn't do civil partnerships there, even though they were licensed. It's like. And the Bromley Council said, yeah, that's all right. We're not, you can do that. Even though they technically they were they got the license from the council. But so that it was. I know friends who used. And I went there for a couple of social do's and things at the Positive Place, and it was a really useful space for people with HIV and AIDS. It was very, very. I think it's when the Metro Centre started, was it, at the Positive Place? Maybe, I'm not sure. I think they were involved in it anyway. Yeah.
Can you shed any light on why and when the various bars and pubs closed?
Why and when? Oh, well, yeah, there were ones that just lasted overnight. There were sort of fly-by-night pubs that sort of were gay, particularly as pubs generally closed, you know what I mean? They still are, aren't they? You know what I mean? But they're sometimes a pub in its last dying days, if you like, we'll have a gay night just to get people in, But the main pubs, obviously, the George and Dragon is still going strong, yay. But the Phoenix shut about 10 years ago with all that new development in Lewisham, all the new, well, it's all part of that, I think, and Stonewall's I think the last time I went to Stonewall's was actually around the Olympic time, 2012, and they did a breakfast, because a friend of mine, he actually managed to hold the torch. They had a relay race, the Olympic torch came through Lewisham, and he did it for his charity, and so we all went and supported him, and then Stonewall said I think it was 286 then, did a breakfast. It was tinned mushrooms. I'm sorry, but it's like, I can't eat. I've never eaten tinned mushrooms since. I don't think it's like it's not something you can. They're not. Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and they tried. You know what I mean? But I think that's one of the last times I went there. Yeah, there was kind of early, sort of 10 o'clock in the morning, having breakfast. So they tried to put it on.
So did you get the sense that it was on its last legs as a venue?
Yeah, I think the tinned mushrooms kind of like made you feel that, I don't really want to come back. It was it was. I think I went there a couple of times afterwards and did some some drunken karaoke with a mate of mine, and remember we sang "I Know Him So Well," It's like, and I know it must have been on its last legs, because I would only do karaoke in an empty pub. You know what I mean? It's like, I wouldn't let Joe Public suffer my dulcet tones. You know what I mean? It's like
So we've got the Phoenix, which was Roebuck and other things, kind of closes, as you recall, as a result of all the redevelopment in Greenwich.
I think so.
And then you've got the Castle, which becomes 286 and Stonewall's, which is closing around the time of the Olympics.
Yeah.
What about the Queen's Arms? Would you remember when that closed?
Just before, I think that closed before I think it did. Probably about. They had that closed probably about 2 years before that, maybe 2010, something around that time. Because it's now flats, isn't it? So. Yeah, those walls could talk. It's yeah.
And why do you think there are, all these venues sort of folded?
I think it's too far. I think the rise of the gay app. It's like that's that side, and also the general, people. Generally, pubs are closing, aren't they? You know what I mean? It's like straight and gay. So I think there's that side as well. It's a shame, it's like, because they were of the time, and they were fun. There was a community spirit, It's like, and it's great that this archive is recording those times because it was a fun party time, really. It's like, I think that anything, it seems to be less of a social thing now. It's more kind of people, people meet other guys on the gay apps and so you know what I mean, and there's less kind of fun getting together stuff. You know what I mean, as such.
I mean, where would you look for that? In Lewisham?
Yeah. It's I think there's things like this, which hopefully take off. It's like and I think there are certain places like there's now the Fox and Firkin I go to, and that's very gay friendly. It's like it always was. As I was saying to Paul, it was like when you got kicked out of Stonewall's, by Josie, you went to the Fox and Firkin, or if you had an argument with Josie, you went to the Fox and Firkin, and you had your own little table. There's contingents, tables there of people that were the ex, who had enough of the landlord there, and so they went. So they went to the Fox and Firkin, and so it was always gay friendly, and you could always kiss your partner there and hold hands or whatever, so it's fairly inclusive. Yeah. And they have queer markets now and things like that there, and gay friendly nights there now and things. So and that is quite a social do there, So there's something there, but they also have very straight nights as well. But so you have to sort of pick and choose a bit, Yeah.
No, it's interesting, isn't it, that the Fox and Firkin sort of stepped in to fill that role. Yeah. It
was always there a bit, you know what I mean? It was always there. It was always like you went to the Fox and Firkin, and if you really had, because there'd be gay people there, It's like that you kind of knew through the years, It's like it's fun.
So
the other gay, I forgot to talk about the Dover Castle and what was that other pub, and the Goldsmiths Tavern, and this is going back some, and was it one on the corner called that's now a noodle house? I like to call it the Phoenix, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with the Dover Castle, and where that was.
Dover Castle was in Deptford. It was on the main street. And that was a fun pub. It was like, it was edgy and everything. And it was like, it's fun. The Deptford Dykes used to drink there, you know what I mean? And they were a force to be reckoned with, you know what I mean? You didn't want to argue with them, It's like, I was talking to a friend of mine about the Deptford Dykes the other day, and he's saying, "Oh wow, I forgot all about them." And he never lived in Lewisham, but he'd heard of them, you know what I mean? It's like,
I mean, is this a specific moniker? People call themselves Deptford Dykes, or is that what you called the Dykes in Deptford?
No, it's what they called themselves. Yeah, it was like they were hard. You know what I mean? It's like I think it all stemmed from the housing in the Pepys estate. You know how it was hard to let housing, and it was let to lesbian, gay people because they couldn't. The GLC at the time couldn't rent them out to anyone really. So. Which is amazing when you think of it now. It's a beautiful flats are on the river. It's okay, they're council-y, but there's nothing wrong in that. It's but the Dover Castle used to be great fun. So I remember seeing drag acts there, like Adrella and maybe even Lily Savage there. I don't know. I remember seeing Adrella there a few times, and it was a fun time until it exploded. It's like until the pub. Do you not know? It's like we woke up. There was an here on the news, like explosion in Deptford or something. Mind the traffic. It's on Deptford Broadway and the A2 as such, and there was a gas explosion. No one was killed, great, but whether it was an insurance job or whatever, because these pubs kind of did. This was early on. This was kind of probably mid 80s. No, probably late 80s. Probably maybe early 90s. I'd say. It's like and so it's a brand new building there, and it's not a gay pub or anything. It's like
I mean, I'm not sure if Deptford High Street is in the borough of Lewisham or Greenwich, but in any event, it is in Lewisham. Okay, well, we need to know more about these Deptford dykes. Tell me more.
I don't know a lot because I was scared of them as well. It's like you don't mess with the Deptford dykes. But I think they were motorbike loving dyke kind of people who played pool and they were very much your butch dyke, if you like. You know what I mean? It's like it was you didn't mess with them. I know that. So I don't know a lot about them really, but I'm sure there must be pictures of them and things.
But you would go to the Dover Castle. There'd be men there as well. And what was it like?
Oh, fun! It was just a fun pub. It was just a fun get drunk pub. It's like yeah.
And what was the other one you mentioned? Oh, Goldsmith. I think you mentioned the whole striptease. But tell me more about the Goldsmith Tavern.
Oh, Goldsmith's Tavern was great. It's where Vic Reeves started, and it's so they had cabaret nights as well as fun nights. It was like it was a nice old pub as well, and you went in the back room and for the gay cabaret as such with a stripper or drag queen or whatever, It's like it's going back some that, It's like
So it was basically a sort of mixed / straight pub that had gay nights, gay cabaret.
Yeah, it had something different each night. I think Thursday nights might have been the gay night, I think so. But because it had a gay night, it meant it was gay friendly on other nights as well, which is good, It's like, it's fun. And there was 309, remember 309? It's like, that was the gay sauna. That was sort of in the late, that only shut about 5 years ago maybe, so also,
Where was that?
That was opposite the Goldsmiths Tavern. It's like I don't think the two were open at the same time. The gay sauna was open maybe sort of towards late 90s. I think probably for 10 years or so. Yeah. So you had all the facilities. You could have a drink, then go for a bit of fun down the sauna, then go to drag show. It's like not
to be incriminating anyone at all and naming no names, but I think you did mention Hilly Fields earlier, did you? Yeah. Tell me about that.
There's Ladywell Fields.
Ladywell Fields.
Yeah, well, Hilly Fields as well. Ladywell Fields was until they put new lighting in, bastards. It's like and shut the cottage. It was that after being in the castle, stone walls, whatever. It's like when especially on summer evenings, you used to get a few tins and go down the Ladywell Fields, or even if you was feeling a bit randy, you go down there and it didn't really matter what the weather really, and or if you pick someone up in the castle stone wall and you couldn't be bothered to take them home, you're like, this is much. Hey, there's a bush round the corner, It's like so it saves all the having to make coffee in the morning. It's like but since then it was one. Do you know Ladywell Fields? It was like there's two sides to it. The one that was well lit and one was not well lit. So you can guess which side was the more adventurous side, really. And but now both sides are well lit, so it's no longer. And also, I think a few trees have been thinned out as such, you know. So it's not what it was, and also the cottage is closed, you know. But it's it's closed. I think it's open occasionally, but it's not what it was, you know. It's like, you know, it's like.
I mean, Rick, you've given me so much.
I'm sorry.
No, but there's no else here. No, I'm not saying stop it. I know. I mean, so what else? What else have you got? Have you got any stories, specific stories of like nights, evenings when you were in where something particular happened, or?
They're all a bit of a blur because it was so alcoholically driven, really. You know, it was like, I can't. None kind of. Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Yeah, you want them specifically to Lewisham, don't you? Really?
Well, any of the venues that we've talked about.
Yeah. I remember. Now this is weird. This is kind of like when I split up with my boyfriend. And it wasn't one of my many boyfriends. It was like this is kind of. Then it was an acrimonious split. We weren't happy. You know, it was a bit. It wasn't a happy time. And he got a mate of his. I don't know if you can use this, but it's like he got a mate of his to do a strip in the to be a strip. He was a stripper to do a strip in my local pub in the Queen's Arms, not the Queen. Queen's Arms, yeah. It's like, and it just felt weird that because the posters are all done in my boyfriend's handwriting, you know what I mean? And you think, why has he done this? It was a bit freaky. I don't know why that came up to mind, but it's like, it was a weird night, yeah.
So how about it's like maybe three words or three thoughts about each of the venues. So 3 words to describe the castle.
The castle, fun, edgy, I'd say, and druggy. I remember it being a bit druggy in my time, yeah, but not hard drugs, soft drugs. You see, Class B, C drugs, you know, like cannabis was quite a thing. It's South London. Hello, it's like, it's I hope to get into trouble for that, but yeah.
You've mentioned no names. What about the Roebuck? 3 words for the Roebuck.
Oh, smelly, 80s and grimy. I'd say, yeah.
The Queen's Arms.
Oh, local. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it was just familiar, and it was open all night. Is that one word? Open till you got chucked out by Josie.
I'll allow that.
I remember knocking on you used to go to a pub and you used to have to knock on the door, and depending on what mood Josie was in, he would let you in or not let you in, or it depends whether you had an argument with him recently, because he was a bit of a fiery, temperament at times,
Which ones have we missed? I mean, the Goldsmiths Tavern was...
That was a nice old pub that had, strippers and things. Yeah, it was a nice pub. I miss that pub. Yeah, and the Dover Castle. We've done the Dover Castle, haven't we? Dover Castle was scary, a little bit with the Deptford Dykes, but sort of great cabaret, good cabaret, and you would have like the major kind of stars like Adrella and I think Lily Savage. She probably didn't on her way up. It's like their thing. And the strippers. It was always strippers. Oh, strippers were great in those days. They used to have like 2 strippers on stage at the same time, doing what 2 strippers on stage could do at the same time. Yeah, you didn't want to drink out those bottles. It's like, it was outrageous. It was like, it's like, you can guess what they did. Yeah, it's like, they were fun times.
Can you paint? Oh,
I don't know if I should say this, but the George and Dragon used to have a naughty night as well, a naughty Sunday, I think, Sunday afternoons where it was a naked day. But that pub's still going, so I don't know if I should say anything. But
it'll be everything in the archives going to be confidential. Yeah. But I'm curious about this naked. Presumably, this is naked acts or naked punters.
Punters would be naked, but the thing is that we all kind of know each other. It's all like, oh, hello, how are you? It's all you down the market, It's like, oh, you going out with now, that kind of thing, in terms of anonymous sex, it didn't really exist, It's I think I only went once and thinking, no, it's all a bit embarrassing because we know each other so well.
You're the first person I've spoken to who's mentioned the Dover Castle. So can you describe it, like where it was, what it was like as a building, as an interior, and that just kind of stuff? It
was quite deep as a bar, It was had pool tables in it. It was on Deptford Broadway. Kind of, just sort of up from, where the positive place is. If you imagine the Deptford Broadway there, opposite there, that kind of area. It's a brand new 80s building, 90s building there now. It's like, it was.
Was it like an old Victorian pub or?
No, it was kind of more. I'll say sort of 30s maybe. It wasn't very architecturally. It wasn't very interesting. It was like, you walk through the door. There'd be a pool table with the Deptford Dykes on. You can't leave them. They're happy. It's like they haven't had an argument yet. It's like, it was like, and then you just have a drink, and there'd be, and it was one of those bars where the drag queens would be on, and they could walk round and chat to everyone and get everyone involved and things. You know what I mean? It was fun. It's like Do
you remember who the bar man or women were, or who ran it?
Back years and years now. It's like I'm sorry, I can't.
When are we going back?
80. I went there from about 85 to maybe 1990, 91 when it might have. Been demolished, exploded, whatever. It's like
Well, Rick, it's just been a brilliant interview. I wasn't expecting that at all. Fantastic. Any other thoughts, or we can pick this up again?
I would like to talk about the pantomimes. Like they were fun because I love a pantomime, and it's like Rose Garden and some friends of mine.
Okay, hang on. Because people have mentioned the Rose Garden, but I need you to say who this person is.
Oh, Rose Garden is, she's... I think... I know... Well, I don't know Rose Garden, personally, but when I was... I mentioned I was a teacher, and I wasn't a very happy teacher with Clause 28 and all that sort of stuff, and I didn't want the pupils to find out I was gay, because it might have been seen as promoting homosexuality or something. And I was a primary school teacher, so the first thing they asked you is, you got a girlfriend, and all that sort of thing, and so I wasn't that happy. And I used to go, and Rose Garden used to be a hairdresser. I don't know what his name is, but Rose Garden. And I used to always walk past, and that was just near Charing Cross Station. That was on my commute to the school that I taught in. And I used to see him, and he used to always think, oh, that is a happy person, you know what I mean? I think it's before he did drag, you know what I mean? And I just think, oh, that's a really happy person. He's happy, gay hairdresser, camping up in just having fun in London. I was thinking, this is not, I'm in the wrong job here. I'm not happy, And that was my first introduction to Rose Garden, really. And then I found out he was a drag queen, and he ended up knowing people in this area, and he, with a couple of friends of mine, as I say, did the local panto it started at the Queen's Arms. I think they did 2 ones at the Queen's Arms, and they were brilliant pantos. I remember he did. It was at the time that Kirsty MacColl died. Remember, and he did. And his number was in these shoes, which was, I think, was her one of her last hits, you know what I mean? It's like one of her last records, and yeah, it was and it was really kind of moving because she died around Christmas as well. He obviously rehearsed it before knowing that that she died, and it was a really fun panto because it got people involved, all sorts of people, amateurs as well as other drag queens, and and what's his name? Can't remember his name, but yeah, Paul knows it. It's used to always do triangle, la la la, ding, triangle. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've interviewed him, Ian.
Ian.
Do I mean Ian? Yeah, from Thingy and the Girl.
No.
Oh no, someone else.
He was a barman.
Oh, okay.
Mrs. I can never remember his name. He's one of these people that's got grey hair, so he always seems a bit older than he actually is. You know what I mean? But he always did triangle, which was always and he was always like triangle, even though it was kind of fun, you know. And they did two pantos at the Queen's Arms, and I think they did one or two at the Castle Stonewalls. I think it was Stonewalls in those days, and that was fun. And
because I mean, people have said it's a Rose Garden. Am I right in thinking Rose Garden's thing was that they would dress up as the Queen, or did they do many things?
Morgan. That's Pip Morgan. Pip Morgan.
Oh, okay. So I'm confusing the two. So tell me, who was Rose Garden and what was their shtick, and who was Pip Morgan?
Rose Garden's still going as a drag queen, and he does stuff with one of his, I always remember seeing Gay Pride at Brighton Gay Pride before it was as massive as it is now, and he did a number. I'd like to think it was Rain. It's like Rain on a Wedding Day. You know that song. Ironic. I think it's that song, and he used to get a water shooter and just spray everyone. But at Gay Pride Brighton, he used to deliberately go for the people from Lewisham. You knew you were in for it as soon as he started pumping that water shooter thing. It's like you think this is it. And but he's from, I think he's from Northern Ireland, and it's a lot of fun. He did a lot for the gay scene in Lewisham. I think in terms of he spent time and putting this panto together, if nothing else. He did that, which was brilliant, because really he was the professional in the company that kind of kept it all together, really, you know what I mean? It's like, which is good,
So Rose Garden is doing all kinds of drag professionally, and then Pip Morgan.
Yeah. He's proper Lewisham drag queen, He's like, I don't know if he's still going. I think he is. I don't know. He's like, and he used to just do the Queen, really, but he used to do, of course everyone applauds when the Queen comes on, you know what I mean? And you get out he used to say, I've got a speech, and you get, I always remember that he'd take it out of his handbag, the Queen's handbag. So my speech is. 2 pounds of potatoes, and it'd be a shopping list, and he'd go, oh, sorry, wrong one, It's like, I think he was kind of involved in opening things like when Castle became Stonewalls, or when Stonewalls became 286. I think he was kind of involved in those kind of ceremonial kind of, like in this partial ceremonial kind of way, He does look like the Queen as well when he puts a wig on, that's the thing, It's like, His boyfriend used to always hang around as well. His boyfriend had massive tattoos and things. You think, when you see, kind of, interesting couple.
Any other thoughts, reflections?
Not off the top of my head, no. It's like
one thing is, this is for Lewisham, and we're looking at Lewisham. And do you think that Lewisham was a sort of special case, like had a particularly vibrant scene, or did you feel it was different? I mean, obviously Bromley was a nightmare, but did you feel that Lewisham had a sort of identity?
Definitely, yeah. It was the first area outside central London. I mean, you could chat to your mates saying, should we have a drink? Should we just stay local tonight, or should we go up to London? And London would be a big night out. It's like heaven or whatever. And whereas the local was, he gave you that choice, which was, and also, you'd get people coming from Abbey Wood and Kent and people like that, coming, and they'll come to Lewisham, so that's their big night out, it's like, which is kind of interesting, so it had a draw there, you know what I mean? I think, it's like, and it had the castle was seen as one of the oldest gay pubs in London, I think, if not the oldest gay pub in London. I think that was one of its selling points. It was an institution, and it's a shame it's completely closed now, isn't it? But it's nothing. It's like can't even go in there to see the ghosts. It's like, it's like
I feel that that's the sort of headline here. Can't even go to see the ghosts. That's a good soundbite.
Oh, maybe, yeah.